Hello, I'm Tanya McRae. Here's your Spectrum News 1 update. The clerk of court accused of tampering with the jury in the Alex Murdaugh trial is denying all allegations. Rebecca Hill filed a sworn statement saying there's no need to hold a special hearing, which could open the possibility of questioning the verdict. Even if his murder conviction were to be thrown out, Murdaugh would still spend years behind bars for pleading guilty to stealing millions of dollars from clients at his law firm. And the U.S. saw another jump in syphilis cases in newborns in 2022. And now officials are calling for increased prevention methods. 2022 saw 10 times more babies born with congenital syphilis than a decade prior. The CDC is now calling for treatment as soon as a pregnant woman tests positive.
Now time for your traffic and weather. I'm Ferdinand Fuhrer. A very good Tuesday evening to you. Let's take you to the OC, just to the east of the city of Orange. We do have a crash. 55 northbound at Catella Avenue. The number 2 lane is blocked, and you can see slow going past the 22 almost to the 5. Again, that's the 55 northbound at Catella, number 2 lane blocked. Now time for weather on the ones. Look at these high temperatures. These are the observed highs, only 60s and low 70s across the board, so very cool temperatures. Tomorrow, some Santa Ana winds kick up. We get temperatures a little warmer, a good 5 to 10 degrees of warming as we go through tomorrow afternoon.
Welcome to your evening on Spectrum News 1. I'm Tanya McRae in for Amrit Singh. We begin the show tonight with the latest on a fatal physical altercation at competing pro-Israel, pro-Palestine rallies in Westlake Village. The suspect in a Jewish man's death is cooperating with Ventura County deputies. 69-year-old Paul Kessler died after falling backwards and hitting his head during a fight. This is a memorial today at the site. Authorities haven't arrested the 50-year-old suspect. Sheriff James Freihoff promised today everyone should feel safe, no matter their religion.
Our primary duty is to protect and serve the community. We take this responsibility very seriously, and we are committed to investigating this matter to the fullest and finding out what exactly occurred. We're working tirelessly to gather all the facts and evidence related to this incident.
Deputies are investigating Kessler's death as a homicide. The sheriff's office is not ruling out the possibility of a hate crime. 1 month after Hamas attacked Israel, triggering a Middle East war, family members of hostages taken by Hamas joined House Republicans on Capitol Hill, pledging for U.S. aid to help Israel. Israel's prime minister ruled out any ceasefire unless Hamas releases the 240 people it's holding captive. Cassie Simeon of our Washington bureau has more.
For a month now, families of hostages taken by Hamas in the early hours of its war with Israel have waited for news that has not yet come.
It's been 30 days. Every day is like eternity to me, and I can't wait any longer because I know that he was shot. I don't know anything.
Doris Lieber's son Guy was attending a music festival in Israel when he was shot and taken hostage by Hamas terrorists on October 7th. Lieber and members of other hostage families joined with House Republican leaders Tuesday in calling for new U.S. assistance for Israel.
We need help now. We don't know what is their condition. This is a call for action.
Last week, all but 2 House Republicans, plus 12 Democrats, voted to provide $14.3 billion in aid. But Democratic and Republican leaders in the Senate are pushing for a bigger package that includes aid for Ukraine and Taiwan and money for border security.
We passed a bipartisan Israel support measure, which is exactly at the level that was requested. And unfortunately, some of our Senate Democrat friends have taken issue with that. What our point has been and what we are requesting, urging the White House and the Senate Democrats to do is to complete that package and get it over the line.
Democrats are blasting House Republicans for including $14 billion in cuts to the Internal Revenue Service for their bill. They say cutting the money would deny the IRS the ability to step up audits of wealthy tax cheats, costing the government money.
This is the height of hypocrisy from the Republican conference. They voted for a package that left out humanitarian aid just last week. By the way, an extremely partisan plan that is not going to become law, that blows up our deficit, and ignores the humanitarian crisis that they acknowledge.
Israel reported that its forces have now encircled Gaza City in the northern Gaza Strip and dismantled some of Hamas's tunnels as fierce fighting continues. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told ABC News that Israel will take over security responsibility in Gaza indefinitely after its war with Hamas. But he did not elaborate. Now, in that interview, Netanyahu said he would support little pauses in the fighting to allow for the delivery of aid to Gaza or the release of some hostages. But he ruled out any general ceasefire without the release of all of the hostages. Tanya.
Thank you, Cassie. Former President Donald Trump will once again not be partaking in the next Republican primary debate despite qualifying. He will instead headline a South Florida rally as counter-programming to the debate. Trump's team has argued there should be fewer debates. At the same time, the former president testified at his civil fraud trial. He sparred with the judge for nearly 4 hours. The charges against Trump threaten what he calls the corporate death penalty and $250 million in penalties. Trump called the trial a disgrace and said the judge who ruled he committed fraud knew nothing about him. New York Attorney General Letitia James, who brought forward the case, told reporters outside the courthouse Trump is nothing but a bully. Watch Spectrum News 1 tomorrow at 7 p.m. for post-debate analysis. After that, Amrit Singh will continue that analysis with Inside the Issues at a special time of 7:30. Full coverage for the debate will begin with your evening at 5. Today, the Supreme Court heard a Second Amendment case challenging a federal law that bans people subject to domestic violence restraining orders from owning a gun. The complete story, plus the hyper-local impact at the half-hour mark of our show.
Time now for Weather on the Ones. A very good Tuesday evening to, again, a beautiful sunrise out there. This time we had a lot of clouds out there. If you stepped outside today, you noticed it was a little bit breezy, maybe a little bit cold for some people. But nonetheless, with the clouds, we had a beautiful sunrise. Almost looked like fire out there. And here you can see a lot of the clouds spilling into the canyons of the San Gabriel Mountains. We had more clearing closer to the coast today than we actually had inland by the afternoon. Most of us saw at least a little bit of sunshine, as you can see through this time lapse right here. Of course, every once in a while, those clouds socked in against the camera. So we're seeing some actual snow in the Sierra. We're seeing some thunderstorms with the unstable air behind a cold front that has moved through Southern California, the Central California as well. And as we go through tonight, we have some onshore winds, kind of northwest. By the time we get to tomorrow, those winds will turn to offshore, and we get a little bit of a Santa Ana wind, so a little bump up in temperatures over the next couple days. So here's the futurecast. There goes the front. It passes us by, and then quickly a ridge builds, and that's going to give us the offshore flow for the next 2 days. Strongest winds will be on Thursday morning. That'll be when we have the heightened fire danger as well. And then another area of low pressure will cool us down on Friday, and then right on its heels comes another area of high pressure that'll kind of bump up our temperatures a little bit as we head into the weekend. Now, again, I've been talking about this for a couple days. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself because when we talk about 8 days out, things can change. Nonetheless, this could potentially be the first potent storm system of the year. This would start possibly on Tuesday and then go through Wednesday, Thursday with waves of energy, waves of possible rain, Sierra snow, maybe even some snow into our local mountains as well. Stay tuned to that. But you can see all the way through Friday, the storms that keep coming through. So cross your fingers if you like the rain and if you like the snow, because this could be a good one for us. All right, your temperatures for tomorrow. Again, with those offshore winds, more northerly than northeasterly, we're still going to bump it up. It's still a downsloping wind. So the coast will see generally 70s, maybe even some upper 70s as you get into Long Beach, downtown LA, Van Nuys, 79 degrees. And then, of course, up in the high desert, before the air compresses, it's still cool, so you'll only see 60s up in the high desert. All right, here's your 7-day forecast. So we'll take you to the coast, excuse me, 70s pretty much across the board until we get to next Tuesday. And you see the chances there. This morning it was 20%. Now we're going 40% for that storm system next week. For the basins, we go upper 70s pretty much for the next 4 days, then 80s, and then much cooler going into next week. You see the percentage there. So it is starting to come together. I don't want to bet on it, but we're going to talk about the drought in just a moment here. But yes, this looks like a pretty good storm system. And by the way, Saturday is Veterans Day. A big thank you to all the veterans out there. And for the kiddos, they get out of school on Friday.
That is going to be a lot of fun for them, for
Yes.
sure. And promising news on the California Drought Monitor.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at this graphic. This is where we are right now. You see a little bit of yellow. That just equates to dry. So pretty much all of California is out of the drought. And again, that's because of last year's rainfalls. We had several atmospheric rivers. This storm system next week could be an atmospheric river for us as well. Look at this map. This is where we were 1 year ago today. Look at that, Central Valley, Tulare Lake, which was basically a dry lake filled up with water.
Yeah.
Now, look at it. It was actually an exceptional drought. Most of California, anywhere from moderate to extreme. So great news there. Again, just this is where we are now. This is where we were. So again, if we get these storms that come in, atmospheric rivers, that's what we need. We can string a couple years of non-drought years together.
Yeah.
Nowadays, the thinking is we're more in drought than we are out of drought.
Right, we've gotten used to it.
Yeah, and we're getting used to it. So if we can get some good atmospheric rivers this year, that'll be great news for us. And it looks like next week, I don't want to jinx it.
Don't get us too excited.
Yeah, I don't want to get too excited. There's still some time out. Things can change, but right now it's looking pretty good. So.
Well, I am happy to hear that, and I'm sure people that are going to be going out for Veterans Day are glad to hear that as well, Ferd.
It'll be a nice Veterans Day weekend for you, too.
That's good to
All
know.
right, you got it.
Thanks so much. Deadline reports lead negotiators for SAG, AFTRA, and Hollywood studios are meeting to discuss a possible breakthrough on the issue of artificial intelligence. This could pave the way to a resolution of the roughly 117-day work stoppage. There's been no official update from either side. Today marks 5 years since the deadly mass shootings at the Borderline Bar and Grill in Thousand Oaks. President Joe Biden issued a statement today calling it an act of senseless gun violence. The Ventura County community is still healing after a Marine veteran shot and killed 12 people on a college night at the bar. Christian Galino is there with how the victims are being remembered.
It's been 5 years since Michael Morissette lost his daughter Christina during the Borderline Bar shooting. It's 5 years of grieving, remembering, and learning to live with loss.
I've processed a lot of things that I don't want to have to process again. Sometimes I know that I'm going to have to.
Christina Kaylee Morissette was 20 years old and worked as a door hostess at the Borderline Bar and Grill.
She was just, like they say, starting to spread her wings and fly the nest, but she just didn't have a chance.
On the night of November 7th, 2018, a gunman entered the crowded Borderline Bar and Grill. 12 people, including Christina and a Ventura County deputy, lost their lives that night. Michael feels the pain every time yet another mass shooting happens in the U.S.
Every year it gets reactivated in our minds and in our hearts that this happened. And every year there's new stuff that's added to that, another shooting.
And in those 5 years, Michael has also learned to live with the roller coaster of emotions that comes with the loss of a child, and found purpose to keep Christina's memory alive by helping other families to process their grief. Being able to revisit the night of November 7th, 2018 has gotten much easier for survivor and friend of Christina, Alexis Tate.
Christina had this smile that could light up the whole room, and I would always jump and hug her.
The Healing Garden at the Conejo Creek North Park in Thousand Oaks has been a space where Alexis has been able to process the traumatic events she lived 5 years ago, but also to keep her friend's memory alive.
Telling the stories of Christina keeps her spirit alive. That's the only way we can. I mean, she's physically not here, but she's here.
For Alexis and Michael, sharing the love they had for Christina helps with coping and to learn to live with the loss of a loved one.
Grief has different stages that are, however you identify them, they're all there and they're all a little different, but they all come in a package, but they hit you all at once.
Since the shooting, a community continues to heal while keeping the memory of those they lost alive.
Families, friends, and survivors are gathering there tonight for a remembrance event organized by Christina's father.
Time now for a look at what's happening in our community. Brought to you by the law offices of Jacob Emrani and your team at calljacob.com.
Time now for weather on the ones. I'm meteorologist Ferdinand Fuhrer. We've got Huntington Beach for you. It's time for your beach and surf report. A nice evening outside, a little bit chilly. We've got some decent surf out there. Ventura and LA County, 4 to 5. Orange County, a little bit smaller, 2 to 3. And then for San Diego County, 2 to 4. All looking pretty good because we have those offshore winds helping to hold the shape. Dominant northwest swell. Water temperatures starting to come down, middle 60s, but down towards San Diego County, low 60s. And for your air temperatures, a nice, comfortable day. We'll see temperatures in the middle 70s for the most part with those offshore winds. All right, we'll send it over to Tanya.
Thanks so much for that, Ferdinand. Dozens of organizations are calling for an emergency declaration due to pollution flowing up the coast of San Diego from Mexico. This winter's record rainfall led to increased wastewater and infrastructure failures, closing numerous beaches for months. Bree Steffens spoke with people in the affected communities about the help they need.
How are you?
Taking care of her community is important to Bethany Case, but despite her work to pick up trash, the beaches of Imperial Beach are still not clean. Sewage, trash, and pollution from Tijuana has been leaking over the border into the San Diego region for decades. Due to the health danger, the beaches in Imperial Beach have been closed for more than 200 days this year alone.
It is embarrassing and it's frustrating. It's hard to be in a really cool beach town and not be able to use the beach.
Bethany became the lead volunteer for Clean Border Water Now, part of the Surfrider Foundation, after a large sewage flow created a huge stench over all Imperial Beach and caused several days of beach closures in 2017.
We have to live here. We can't afford to go anywhere else in San Diego.
Sarah Davidson works for Surfrider Foundation, one of more than 40 nonprofit organizations across San Diego County to call for Governor Newsom and President Biden to declare a state and federal emergency.
Cut through the red tape, provide all kinds of resources through additional state and federal agencies that we don't have access to for this problem right now.
The Environmental Protection Agency is part of the multi-million-dollar plan to address pollution flow, focusing on building and improving wastewater infrastructure projects on both sides of the border. Doug Leiden is an environmental engineer currently on assignment in Mexico City.
Recognizing that we cannot solve this problem entirely on the U.S. side, that it's going to really take a joint effort.
Doug calculates these projects will reduce wastewater flowing to the coast by 90% and hopes some of them will be completed in a year or two. He estimates the cost of a true solution is closer to $1 billion, and any additional funding they can get will greatly help.
Obviously, the more money we get for these projects, the bigger we can make that treatment plant. Very much feel the pain of the community down there.
Surfrider has gathered more than 3,200 signatures supporting an emergency declaration, and they also sent those to President Biden and Governor Newsom. Bethany says they will keep advocating for their small community and the health of other beach communities along the coast.
As much as I love how good the parking is now, I hope that this beach is so jam-packed that it's hard to park, that there are no more of these beach closed signs.
Working toward a better future where everyone can safely enjoy the beach.
Many community programs like Surf Camp were relocated or canceled due to unsafe water quality and beach closures. Mexico estimates repairs to their plants will take 2 years to complete. 1 in 4 women experiences a miscarriage in their lives, but many suffer in silence. That's why mothers across the country are building an online community to find a source of hope and healing. Vanya Patino spoke with a mom who is helping share stories and raise funds for families impacted.
Making earrings began as a side hobby for Rachel Lohman to cope with stress after a miscarriage.
When I was pregnant after loss with my daughter, Eden, if you've ever been through that, you carry a decent amount of anxiety throughout your experience. And one of the ways that I found to cope with that anxiety was to do something creative.
But soon after posting her creations on social media, Rachel said people reached out asking to buy them. And that's when the light bulb went off.
Because they don't have a baby to hold in their hands, if I can give them something to hold, something to wear, something they can carry with them.
In 2020, she launched Hope Again Collective, making and selling earrings that once a month she names after women who have experienced loss, whether that is through miscarriage, stillbirth, or infant loss. One of those mothers is Grace McElroy.
So these earrings mean that I'm not alone in my journey and that I have hope.
Grace lost her baby Ezra to a rare genetic disorder soon after he turned 1 in 2020.
And it's still hard because I wake up every morning and he's not here.
Grace had gone to group therapy, but was looking for a place where she could share her grief. And that's when she found Rachel's page and submitted her story. Later found out she was picked to have earrings named after her. Now they are more than a way to remember her baby.
This added me an avenue to openly talk about him without the stigma of, oh my gosh, I feel bad for her. Oh my gosh, she's so sad. No, because when I wear it and when I tell people about it, I'm able to give a part of myself that's not in the dark.
And that is the power of sharing one story.
I think that is one of the primary ways that we will see shame and stigma around pregnancy and infant loss as a culture begin to change.
In this case, the earrings provided that conversation starter. But therapist at Kaiser Permanente, Annabelle Basulto, says it can be anything tangible.
So that's called a transitional object in psychology, and it's something that you carry with you and that you pass on when you're feeling low and you're feeling lonely.
Annabelle saying it helps turn a negative into a positive, which was a goal all along for Rachel, who also gives 10% of all her sales for a month to the mother she names her earrings after.
Because all of us lost moms have had some sort of tangible need. Some of us have just needed funds to be able to afford grief counseling.
For Rachel, the earrings continue to be the most unlikely bridge to telling stories of hope that have come out of loss.
Hello, I'm Tanya McRae. Here's your Spectrum News 1 update. The U.S. Senate has confirmed Dr. Monica Bertagnolli as the new director of the National Institutes of Health. Dr. Bertagnolli, a cancer surgeon, was confirmed by the Senate today in a bipartisan vote. She previously led the Cancer Institute. The LA City Council has approved spending $11 million to fund a meals program for seniors in the city. The money would go towards supporting and designing the implementation of the Rapid Response Senior Meals Program through June 2024. And a new Gallup survey shows that 3 out of 4 Americans would prefer a 4-day work week. The poll says the option would still amount to a 40-hour week. That would be 4 consecutive 10-hour days. In the survey of 3,200 working adults, 77% believed the 4-day work week would be ideal.
Time now for Weather on the Ones. I'm meteorologist Ferdinand Fuhrer, all socked in up in Mount Wilson. Maybe a little patchy fog out there. Maybe you came across it this morning. For tomorrow, things will change. We'll see more sunshine and warmer temperatures. Here's the city of Downey. We'll start off in the upper 50s, low 60s, mostly sunny skies. By the afternoon, we'll peak in the upper 70s. And then for the next 7 days, we've got Redondo Beach, average is 73. We'll get a little spike on Thursday, a little cooler Friday, and then warmer going into next weekend.
U.S. Supreme Court justices today appeared inclined to uphold the legality of a federal law that makes it a crime for people under domestic violence restraining orders to have guns. The full decision will come down early July. Yesterday, California Attorney General Rob Bonta spoke about the case, as well as domestic violence statistics in California.
Important because the California story is yet again a story of exceptionalism and progress when it comes to addressing gun violence, because we have taken common sense steps, evidence-based steps to remove the guns from the hands of those who have demonstrated their tendency to be violent.
The California Attorney General's office recently released a 41-page report on gun violence prevention. There were more than 670 domestic violence gun homicides reported between 2018 and last year, but overall stats are improving. Chase Beach is in downtown LA with the Impact story. Hello, Chase.
Good evening, Tanya. Well, those statistics, those numbers you just mentioned paint the stark figure of domestic violence in this state. And I spoke with one woman who fled an abusive relationship and has now made it her mission to help other women escape and heal. She keeps clothes, toiletries, and bedding on hand. Blanca Ramirez is a case manager at House of Ruth, a domestic violence shelter. She says some people arrive with nothing.
Sometimes they don't come with no diapers, no clothes. So this is where, this is what this is for.
Blanca helps families move in, connects them with resources and services like counseling, and she sets up rooms before they arrive.
To make them feel welcome, make them feel loved.
And she knows the impact a safe place can have because she's lived it. Blanca is a domestic violence survivor. She says at 20, she left her abusive ex-boyfriend, took their 3 kids, and came here to House of Ruth.
My kids were too little to see all that violence. So that was my choice, just to leave.
53-year-old Blanca grew up in East LA. She says gun violence was common in her life and family. She says her ex also owned guns.
If we would have been really angry and got into a big old fight, who knows if he would have shot me or he would have pulled it out,
According to Everytown, a nonprofit that advocates for gun safety, close to 70 women are shot and killed by domestic partners every month in the U.S. The issue of domestic violence and gun ownership has made its way to the United States Supreme Court. On Tuesday, gun safety advocates rallied as the justices heard a case brought forward about stopping people with restraining orders for domestic abuse from owning guns. The court has maintained that gun legislation must have constitutional precedent. Erwin Chemerinsky, dean of Berkeley Law School, says that's already causing issues for the courts.
That the Federal Court of Appeals said that the federal law that made it a federal crime to have a firearm if in a restraining order domestic violence case was unconstitutional because that law didn't exist in 1791. Most kind of gun regulations that exist today didn't exist in 1791. So if the Supreme Court affirms the lower court, it's going to put all those laws in jeopardy.
For Blanca, after escaping herself, helping others do the same has become her life's work.
You just have to see their eyes, and you get that feeling like, there, she's good, she got it, she's gonna be okay.
Creating a safe place for survivors, and she hopes the Supreme Court helps make the country safer for them too. Now, Tanya, we likely won't hear the final verdict on this case until June of next year. And as you already mentioned, it seems likely that the Supreme Court will uphold the rule to disarm people who have been convicted of domestic violence. But whichever way the justices go on this, it will likely have major implications on gun legislation in this country for years to come.
A really important issue. Thank you so much for your coverage, Chase. Governor Gavin Newsom recently vetoed a bill that would have allowed cannabis cafes to open up statewide. Jamie Kennedy explains why.
A growing number in Sacramento are hoping that cannabis dispensaries like the one next to me will soon be able to open cannabis consumption lounges, a place where you can smoke and consume it. I'm Jamie Kennedy, and while there are those who are hoping the lounges will happen, there are those who are saying that they could pose serious health risks. The doors to Maisha Bahati's new cannabis dispensary store are close to opening, a new business she says she's all in on.
This has been a life-changing opportunity for me and my team. We have put so much into this. We've invested pretty much all we have. We are an independent business, so we did not receive any outside capital.
Her company, Crystal Nugs, currently is delivery only. With her new brick and mortar store, Maisha is hoping it will open up other cannabis business opportunities.
So this will be a room where you will come in, you'll be able to consume on site. We're going to have entertainment.
A cannabis consumption lounge, Maisha says, will be the second phase of her business plan, but that all hangs on the city of Sacramento allowing cannabis lounges to become legal. Currently, they are not.
If we could please keep it down.
A city committee recently voted in favour of allowing consumption lounges to open, paving the way for the full council to take up the proposal. Maisha says these lounges will fill a much-needed void in the cannabis space.
There is no legal place to consume, and so I do believe that it's a responsibility of the city to provide safe spaces where consumers can come, safely consume, because many people can't consume at home.
Smoking cannabis in the state follows the same rules as smoking tobacco. Even with a favourable vote by the city committee, Jim Keddy, the executive director for the non-profit Youth Forward, says allowing the lounges would be a health risk for the people who work in them.
Cannabis smoke is the same as cigarette smoke, similar to wildfire smoke. If you are breathing in cannabis smoke on a regular basis, you significantly increase your risk for heart disease, stroke, cancer.
Maisha says she would install the required ventilating HVAC system, similar, she says, to what cigar lounges have. Cannabis consumption lounges are already legal in several cities around the state. Maisha says she's banking on lounges happening and even dreams of food and beverage eventually being incorporated.
I think we're at the point where people want to consume socially. We want it to be treated like a cocktail bar, a place where you go enjoy drinks with your adult friends.
If that does happen, Maisha says she's happy to work and listen with the community on concerns they may have.
A very good Tuesday to you. I'm meteorologist Ferdinand. If your temperatures, if you stepped outside today, you'll notice it was a little bit cooler. Tomorrow, we warm things back up again. Here's another beautiful sunrise, this time from the Santa Monica Mountains. Plenty of clouds out there. If you were above the clouds, you saw that sunrise. If you were below the clouds, not much out there. All right, clouds stuck around up in the mountains for quite a while. We did get some clearing, especially near the coast. You see how windy it was out there, kind of a shaky camera. But now as we go through tomorrow, winds will shift. Today, they were onshore winds. Tomorrow, they turn more northerly. And then for Thursday, more of a true Santa Ana as they become northeasterly. So temperatures will start to warm up a little bit tomorrow. Average for Burbank, 75, forecast 76. So right about average inland. Pretty much the same deal at the coast, just a couple degrees cooler. Venice Beach, average 73, forecast 73. So tomorrow we're pretty much right at average as those winds turn more northerly. So your temperatures from the Ventura coast, some low to mid 70s, upper 70s for the San Fernando Valley, middle to upper 70s in the San Gabriel Valley. And then for the LA coast, we'll go low to mid 70s, upper 70s, Downey, Whittier, Cerritos coming in at 78 degrees. And then our inland temperatures will be a little bit cooler. You don't have the offshore winds, or they're not going out as far as the coast where it's normally warmer. So 76 for Ontario, San Bernardino, 72, inland OC, some upper 70s out there. So you'll notice the winds right now, they're onshore. And then as we go through the overnight hours, they'll turn more northerly. They'll push the fog, the low clouds off into the ocean. So we'll have a mostly sunny day, a warmer day for tomorrow as well. And then you'll notice by the time we get into Thursday morning, Thursday will be the strongest of the Santa Ana winds, and they'll be coming out of the northeast, especially in those wind-prone areas, the ones where we see the Santa Ana winds normally. All right, here's your 7-day forecast for the mountains. Pretty chilly with the Santa Ana winds, overnight lows in the 20s. 70s. Temperatures in the 40s for the next couple days. Then we get back into the 50s, eventually into the 60s. So a nice week ahead, by the way, thanks to all the veterans out there. Veterans Day on Saturday. Kids got the day off on Friday, just in case you were wondering there. Upper 60s for the next 3 days for the high desert. Low 70s on Veterans Day. We'll keep the low 70s going through the weekend. You see the showers there on Tuesday. That's what I was talking about a half hour ago or so. Upper 70s for the Coachella Valley. Eventually we get into the low 80s beginning on Veterans Day.
Your sports brought to you by Buick.
James Harden finally made his Clippers debut last night at Madison Square Garden. The Beard had 17 points and 6 assists, but the Knicks spoiled the occasion with a 111-97 win. After the game, Harden admitted he felt strange in his first game back, especially without having a preseason or proper training camp. With 4 all-star level players all playing together, he says the possibilities are unlimited for this team. And LeBron James said yesterday that his son Bronny James is continuing to make progress and could return to the court this season. The freshman guard at USC had successful surgery on his heart after suffering a cardiac arrest over the summer. His dad said if he clears a medical exam later this month, it won't be long until Bronny is back on the floor. And the El Segundo Little League World Series champions will ride on the DirecTV float in the 135th Rose Parade. Look for the 2023 champs on January 1st during the Tournament of Roses in Pasadena. Do you know an athlete who excels on and off the court or field? Nominate that person to be one of our Scholar Athletes by going to SpectrumNews1.com/Scholar Athlete. There you'll find the complete rules and requirements. 34% of Americans say they're trying to drink less in 2023, according to a recent survey. A Long Beach business is catering to this shift by promoting a fun and social atmosphere without the reliance on alcohol. Amy Paffrath takes us to Shirley's Temple for more on all the buzz over mocktails.
Research shows more people are reaching for non-alcoholic options when they go out for a drink. I'm Amy Paffrath in Long Beach, where the buzz over mocktails is strong here at Shirley's Temple.
It's just after 11 a.m. and business owner Essie Evans is mixing up one of her restaurant's signature drinks. It's got all the complexities of a cocktail, plus a healthy buzz.
People now are focused on health, fitness, wanting to live longer, so there's so many reasons to cut alcohol out of the picture completely, so a lot of people are going that direction.
With an espresso martini suitable for all hours of the day, plus options for other palates, she's shaking up the industry and providing a booze-free safe haven for a growing segment of customers who are leaning into this healthy trend. In 2022, the no-alcohol drinks market surpassed $11 billion. While Essie saves her spiked sips for special occasions, the 31-year-old still likes to go out, but says the NA options don't get her jazzed up.
It feels very discouraging because you see all of your friends having these cute, elaborate cocktails with all the cute glasses and cheersing and having a good time, and sometimes you feel like, well, I don't want to drink, but I still want to be involved.
That's why she's using years of working in hospitality and a master's in business to offer up an alternative to the bar scene at Shirley's Temple. Opened earlier this year in Long Beach's Signal Hill, the Drinks and Deli joint, named after the world's most famous mocktail and the child actor who inspired it, isn't specifically for the strictly sober, but was certainly encouraged by folks in that community.
I've really been able to get to know some of the people in the sober and AA and recovery communities, and they've really encouraged me to chug this along and really bring it to life.
It has also attracted the attention of locals like Lyft driver Paul Redner. He heard about it online and says he appreciates the care that goes into a well-crafted drink, alcohol or not.
Good mixologist is like a barista. They never get enough credit, but honestly, you can separate one from the other because they're professionals.
He's also passionate about supporting female and minority-owned businesses in the LBC.
Spread the word.
Where Essie is happy to cater to a shifting culture where the goal is to make conscious choices.
Everyone who comes in here has like a positive attitude. Everyone's coming to have fun. Nobody leaves here drunk. I'm not promoting that everyone goes stone cold sober for the rest of their lives, but have balance. You don't have to rely on alcohol to go out and drink and have a good time and be with your friends.
All the fun, none of the hangovers? This round's on me.
Time now for Weather on the Ones. I'm meteorologist Ferdinand Fuhr with a look at your travel forecast. So a little chilly up toward the northern Rockies with some 40s. And you'll see from Oklahoma City to St. Louis to Memphis, warm temperatures in the 80s. We'll see that cool air start to filter into the south. So Oklahoma City goes to 50, St. Louis 60. And then as we head into Friday, look at the cool air all the way down to the south. Houston, Texas, 64. All right, Tanya, we'll send it back to you.
Thank you so much, Ferd. Cities across California are learning how to navigate a warming world and implementing resiliency plans that use trees as the primary defense against the effects of urban heat islands. Daily average temperatures are projected to rise in California by 5.8 degrees by the year 2050. For In Focus SoCal, I looked into one urban tree planting organization in Los Angeles that has been working to increase tree canopy cover in communities to create much needed shade and improve air quality. Southern California is known for many things. Our beautiful beaches, our incredible weather, everything related to Hollywood, and of course, our iconic palm trees. But the city of Los Angeles will no longer plant palm trees as part of its Free Tree Streets program, and CAL FIRE prohibits recipients of its urban and community forestry grants to plant palms. And now environmentalists, urban planners, local and state agencies are telling SoCal cities to ditch the pretty trees for ones that serve a purpose. Most importantly, trees that provide shade.
As far as shade goes and the canopy that our new wave of trees and the species that we now plant, a palm tree very much just gives a small shadow. The canopy and the width of the trees that we plant now focus on creating shade.
Jonathan Diaz is the urban forestry coordinator for the Koreatown Youth and Community Center, known as KYCC, which is one of 5 urban tree planting organizations in the Los Angeles metropolitan area. Canopy cover is a major topic of discussion as urban areas seek to combat increasing temperatures, drought, and air pollution. All of these young trees that Jonathan and his team are planting will eventually grow into lush canopies.
I love visiting natural forests and just seeing natural greenery, even just in bigger parks, bigger state parks. So I think it's very nice to try and apply that to this urban setting, which is very difficult.
Watch a new episode of In Focus SoCal this Sunday at 9 a.m. Taylor Torregano shows us how the NAACP's Hollywood Bureau is working to increase Black representation in television, coming off a new study.
Did you know a recent Nielsen study shows only 32% of Black viewers feel representation of their identity group is accurate? I'm Taylor Torregano in Santa Monica with how thought leaders in the NAACP are changing the narrative to convey a new portrayal more representative of the true Black experience in TV and film.
She took a leap of faith and turned her pain into passion. When her 20-year-old son Sean was hit and killed by a car a few years back, Erica Gomez says the grief was suffocating.
The grief was just so strong that I needed to channel that into something positive.
During their last conversation, Erica says Sean told her how proud he was that her script had been selected at a film festival. So she quit her day job at the Detroit courthouse and decided to launch the Sean Van Entertainment production company in his honor, becoming a full-time director, writer, and producer. Now, her goal is to create stories like this TV series called A Record in Time that speak to the diverse lifestyles within Black communities and help foster an industry that uplifts the Black community. And she says it starts with her.
I will email the both of you the breakdown of the budget.
Erica has employed many of her own friends and family as producers, directors, and supervisors to lift as she climbs. But Erica says it hasn't been easy to get the major streaming companies and studios support.
They just weren't looking for that type of storytelling. I didn't think they really understood it.
Which is why she's here at the American Film Market to shop her series and attend this panel hosted by the NAACP to discuss the tremendous power of storytelling and how to correct what they call historical misrepresentation of Black narratives. NAACP Hollywood Bureau VP Kyle Bowser says the storylines on TV and film continue to inaccurately depict the full dimension of Black lives and instead reinforce harmful tropes and stereotypes. In an effort to correct this, the NAACP has released new guidelines for the accurate representation of Black stories that include considering the existence and validity of different points of view and giving Black contributors an equitable stake.
Every society has a dominant culture, and that dominant culture uses media as a tool to reinforce its worldview. And oftentimes, otherized or marginalized communities are not a part of that worldview.
Ivan Juzang is the founder of Me Productions, a behavioral health communications firm that does extensive research on the long-term effects of health disparities and inequities in media. He says the data proves that mass media has both a direct and indirect impact, pointing to a USC study that shows repeated exposure to positive portrayals of marginalized groups fosters acceptance.
Then you're actually not only not doing harm, but you're positively showing these stories of resilience so that other young people can emulate those examples.
This clear path forward reignited a fire in Erica as a filmmaker and storyteller.
Because I'm from Detroit, I'm from the hood, but I'm not the hood. So it kind of shaped me, but there's more to me than just hood. So I want to be able to tell that in my stories.
Shining a different light to shift the paradigm for generations to come.